Thank you very much for accepting our invitation and coming down to IIT Madras, Department of Management Studies, MBA Invitational Lecture Series. We are really blessed and honored by your presence, and we are really excited that we are going to have some lively conversations with you. So with your permission, I would like to start the question and answer session, Sadhguru. Over to Srinidhi.
Namaste, Sadhguru. So we are aware that you are conducting a lot of workshops for the top business people all over the world. And could you please share your insights on how business leaders should act on social welfare?
Is this good enough, the audio, for all of you, what she's speaking? Then you got to say it, huh? Not at the end of the conversation. Just do check.
Hello?
Yeah, that's good. So, I'm saying that in a technological institution, technology failures are happening. It's in the last 20 years, I've been particularly focusing on global business leaders, including many of the top and variety of businesses in India. Why this is because the traditional so-called spiritual always is skeptical about this. Why should a spiritual leader be talking to business leaders, be in business meetings, be in economic forums and those kind of summits? See, we must understand this. Today and for always, it's just people who live off calendars and slogans, they don't understand this. Otherwise, the success of a nation is not in the success of its politics, not in the success of even its armies, but it's always in the success of its commerce and its business. In which nation the businesses are doing really well, that nation is doing well. There's no question about it. So when this is the reality of our existence, there was a time 250 years ago when everybody wanted to come to India risking their life, you know. All the European expeditions, don't think they came here because they were in love with us. Because this was the richest nation, so everybody wanted to come here. But today, if Western nations open up their visas, 70% of Indians will swim across the oceans and get there. Why? Because their businesses are successful, ours are not as successful as they should be. Essentially, it's that. So, business is not a bad word in my understanding of life. Business essentially means it's a transaction where both the parties benefit. And in my experience of life, whatever kind of transactions we have, whether they're transactions of marketplace or marriage, both the parties should benefit, otherwise it will not sustain. Yes? So, business is not a bad word at all for me. The business also had this resistance. In 2006 or 2005, don't remember the years, when I first went to World Economic Forum, people were almost resentful. What is a mystic doing in an economic forum? So this one person who spoke to me in a very not-so-business-like language said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "What's your business?" He said, "We are the third largest computer-making company." Well, very proudly he said 3 months later, they were taken over by the Chinese. I said, "See, it doesn't matter whether you make computers or safety pins or spacecrafts or cars, it doesn't matter what you make. Essentially, the fundamental business is of human well-being. And that's my business too. And that's why I'm here, and that's why you're here, but you have forgotten your fundamental business. You've gotten up in the process of your quarterly balance sheets and you've forgotten why the hell you're doing this business. Every business that you do is essentially for human well-being, isn't it? Your idea of humanity may be just you, unfortunately, or just you and your family, or just you and your community, or your idea of humanity may be the entire world. The question is only of scale of understanding. But essentially, every business that we are doing in this planet is for human well-being. So such an important business must be conducted in the right way. When I say must be conducted in the right way, essentially any activity that we do, is it inclusive or is it exclusive? That's the main question. So my effort has been to make the businesses as inclusive as possible. In that particular forum, I coined this word, inclusive economics. This is bouncing all over the world, including the prime ministers have been using this word now. Inclusive economics, because economy has to be inclusive, otherwise economy or the process of economics becomes an exploitative process where the corrections will happen in brutal ways later on. Whatever you have seen in the last 2 centuries as revolutions is just actually economics becoming exclusive and corrections happening in brutal ways on the street. If you don't want that kind of corrections to happen, it is very important that you run the business in an inclusive manner. So that's been my effort, essentially.